Hello everyone. I hope you can hear me loud and clear, and good evening if you are from India and any eastern part of the world, and good morning or good afternoon if you are joining us from somewhere else. Today we have with us Sarah Guillen, who is the Director of Admissions at the Penn State Dickinson School of Law. And thank you, Sarah, for joining us today to explain about the LLM application process and taking the time to explain about how the careers post LLM as well as what goes into an LLM application and all the other information that is extremely valuable for the attendees. And just a very quick note before we begin, at any point of time during the presentation, if you do have any question, you can type it into the chat box, and during a break I will be asking the questions on to Sarah. So without taking any further time, Sarah, I'll pass it on over to you. Thank you very much for joining us today.
Absolutely. Thank you, Vishnu. And thank you everyone who's joining in virtually this morning. I guess it's morning here in Eastern Standard Time, but I know some of you it's afternoon and evening. So thank you for taking time to be here, and hopefully what I'm going to share with you will be beneficial and useful in some capacity. I'm assuming all of you tuning in are looking into pursuing an LLM degree. So what I'm hoping to do in this presentation is share some information with you about an LLM here at Penn State Dickinson Law, and then also give you some useful information of questions to answer or questions to ask, and also information that's useful for you to know as you're searching for the program that's the best fit for you personally. So to dive on in, wanted to share a photo of our beautiful campus here at Dickinson Law. A little bit about our program here. We are the oldest law school in Pennsylvania, and actually the 5th oldest law school in the United States. So very rich history. As some of you may have heard of Penn State University, we are under the Penn State umbrella. We are located in Carlisle, Pennsylvania, and you can see here on the left is our original law school, which is from when we were initially established. On the right-hand side, you see a little bit more modern architecture. That is the new wing of the law school where many of the classes actually are meeting. A little bit about our location, if you're not very familiar with the United States. So we are located in Pennsylvania, which is in the northeast part of the United States. Carlisle specifically, if you look at the map on the right-hand side, in the top right, you'll see we're located in the south central part of Pennsylvania. The capital city of Pennsylvania is called Harrisburg. You see where the little star is on the map. We are located about 15 minutes drive just kind of southwest of Harrisburg, so very close to the state capital. But central Pennsylvania is a very beautiful area. There's a lot of outdoor activities, skiing, hiking, bicycling. You can see a photo there at the bottom of one of the state parks that's actually just in the backyard of the law school here at Penn State Dickinson Law. So a great thing about our location here, and something that you want to think about as you're looking for LLM programs, is what kind of regional location are you looking for. So at Dickinson Law, we are in a great location because we're close to some of the biggest legal markets in the United States. As I mentioned, Harrisburg is the state capital of Pennsylvania. It's just about 15 minutes away. And within an hour and a half, you can get to Philadelphia. You can get to Baltimore, you can get to Washington, D.C. in about 2 hours, and New York City is just about 3 hours. So as you're thinking about where you want to go pursue your program, you want to think about what kind of location do you want to be in. Do you want to be in a large city where you have those opportunities at your doorstep, or are you okay with being in a smaller, maybe more regional location that's still close to some of these big legal markets? So the way we're situated with Dickinson Law is we are in a very small town area that's close to these big legal markets. So it's kind of the best of both worlds, where we can get to Harrisburg within 15 minutes. And many of our students have opportunities for internships and research and collaboration opportunities within the capital, but also it's far enough away from the big cities that the cost of living is a lot lower. So one thing that you'll want to think about as you're looking at your finances, as you're looking at your budget, is, are you looking to be in the big city, knowing it's probably going to cost you quite a bit more, or are you okay with being somewhere that's a little bit smaller but still close enough to the city that you still have access to those same types of opportunities? So this is a map to hopefully help you visualize where we're located and what opportunities there are in our area. So a few other things about the area before I dive into our program specifically. Some of the regional attractions in Pennsylvania, Gettysburg, which is where the largest and most significant battle of the United States Civil War took place. It's just about an hour away from where we're located. And then Harrisburg, as I mentioned, is the state capital. It's about 15 minutes. And then, as probably most of you have heard of, Hershey Chocolate. The home of Hershey Chocolate is in Hershey, Pennsylvania, which is just about 15 minutes, or I guess maybe closer to half an hour away from Carlisle, which is where we're located. Hershey is a lot of fun because they have the Hershey Chocolate World that's there where you can go see and learn how they make their chocolate. And then there's also a really big amusement park there as well with roller coasters and all kinds of fun things. So those are some of the kind of immediate regional attractions where we're located. A little bit about our LLM. So similar to most LLM programs in the United States, our program is a 1 academic year, which means 2-semester program. It is 24 credits in order to complete your degree. It is possible here at Penn State Dickinson Law to start in August or to start in January. The choice is yours. Most students choose to start in August because that's when the majority of the domestic students are starting as well. And so it can be a little bit easier to connect and meet other new students at the same time. However, our students that come in January are successful as well in building those relationships and getting connected in with our community. So a little bit about our curriculum. As an LLM student at our school, you have 2 options. You can either do a general LLM, where you are learning about U.S. law. It's kind of a 1-year overview of U.S. law, or you can choose to do a concentration area. In that concentration area, you can select something that is of personal or professional interest to you. I get a lot of questions from prospective students asking, should I do a concentration or should I do a general LLM? And what I tell them is it's really up to you, and it's really up to where you see yourself in 5 years, in 10 years. If you definitely know that you want to be a tax law consultant, let's say you know 100% you want to do tax law, and it will be helpful for you to have an understanding of U.S. tax law, then perhaps it makes sense for you to do a concentration in tax law for your LLM. However, if you come into an LLM and you have 3 or 4 areas that you're interested in, it may be better for you to do a general LLM and to customize your courses to really fulfill exposure to all of those different areas. So here at Dickinson Law, our students tend to be about 50%, 50%. So about half of the students come in and they definitely want to do a concentration. They know exactly what they want to do. The other students come in and they're just doing it as a general overview of U.S. law to help boost their professional career. So it's really up to you. It's up to your motivation. It's up to where you see yourself being. And if anyone has certain circumstances where they would like to kind of talk through what the best option is for them, I'm happy to chat with you as well. If you want to send me an email at any time, I'm happy to give you my opinion on that matter. So all of our courses for LLM students, you're actually completely immersed with the JD students. The JD students are the American students, well, predominantly domestic American students who are pursuing a law degree in the United States. So many of you are coming from backgrounds where you have a bachelor level law degree. In the United States, the structure is a little bit different. You actually are not eligible to go to law school in the United States until you have already completed an undergraduate or bachelor level degree. So our JD students are students who are typically around the age of 22 and higher. And so as an LLM student coming in, you may be younger than some of the JD students. And that's just because the education structure in the United States is a little bit different. But you are taking your courses with JD students, and you have opportunities in the same way that they do. So you are completely immersed in the American law structure here at Dickinson Law when you come. And it's the same structure for most LLM programs in the United States as well. However, there are some schools where the LLM courses are separate from the JD courses. So that's something that as you're looking at program options, you'll want to ask the people who are coordinating the LLM program if you are able to be immersed with the JD students or if you're taking separate LLM courses. And it's a personal decision up to you if you prefer to be immersed or not. My personal view on it is if you're coming to the United States for one academic year, you want to take advantage of all that you can. You want to get invested. You want to get exposure to all that you can. And so being able to be immersed with the domestic students gives you much more of an enriched experience. So these are our concentrations that we offer here at Penn State Dickinson Law. Keep in mind that at every school you look at, they will offer different concentrations. So for some of you, maybe you're looking just for a general LLM degree. If that's the case, then you may not actually, this may not matter to you whatsoever. If you want to do a general LLM, then you don't really need to think about concentrations. But if you are looking for a specialized area, this is what we currently offer. I believe it's 11 different areas. I just want to point out 2 that are actually new starting in fall of 2018. So next year, we have 2 additions, intellectual property and international trial advocacy. Something that is unique about Penn State Dickinson Law is we have 2 of our faculty who actually work as international prosecutors in the Netherlands, in The Hague. It's the International Tribunal Court. And so because of that, it's opened this unique opportunity for our students to actually get exposure about what does international trial look like. And that's something that is very unique that many schools don't offer the same opportunity in that specific area. So these are our concentrations. If you have any specific questions about any of these areas, feel free to send me an email. And my contact information will be on the last slide. So curriculum options. There are several options for LLM students coming in. One is to do a 3rd semester of study. So after you complete your 2 semesters of the LLM, it may be useful for you to consider doing a 3rd semester for a couple different reasons. One would be to study and to continue taking courses with the intention of sitting for the New York bar exam. It can be very challenging for an LLM student after 2 semesters of courses to be successful in passing the bar exam. So typically for our students who come in knowing they want to sit for the bar exam, we encourage them to consider a 3rd semester of study. This will allow them to take a few more courses and to really focus on preparation for the exam itself. We do have academic advising specifically for bar exam, and so working with students to try and make sure that they are as prepared as they can be to take the bar. So that 3rd semester of study option is certainly there. There are also students who have transferred into our JD program. So these are LLM students who decide they actually want to pursue a full JD or law degree in the United States. And so students here, we actually had a student, an LLM student from last year who has transferred into our JD program now. So she's in her 2nd year of a JD now. And so it is possible to transfer and complete 2 additional years into a JD program and complete that within 3 years total. I talked about sitting for the New York bar exam. Typically our students who want to take the bar will sit for it in New York because it is the closest city where it's possible for them to do so. Unfortunately, with an LLM, students are not eligible to take the bar in Pennsylvania. However, New York, as I mentioned earlier on the map, is only about 3 hours away. So it's fairly accessible for our students to get there to take the New York bar exam. And then lastly, another option for curriculum is OPT, or Optional Practical Training. This is for students who come on an F1 visa, which most of you will come on an F1 visa unless you are fully sponsored through another organization. So with an F1 visa, when you come in and you complete your LLM program, you are eligible to remain in the United States for an additional year of work training. So for our students who come to do an LLM, They do it for 2 semesters, and then they work with our Career Services Office to try and locate some kind of an internship or some kind of a work placement for 1 year to get a little bit of experience actually working within a law-related field in the United States before they return to their home country. So this was an option coming in. This is for any school in the United States. You have the opportunity to apply for OPT or optional practical training. So this is a question that you want to keep in the back of your mind, because if this is something you want to pursue, complete an LLM in 1 year, and then for 1 year have this work training through OPT, you want to make sure the schools you're applying to will help you find an OPT position. So every school typically has career services advisors. So I would recommend reaching out to those advisors and saying, can you tell me about how you've helped advise past international students on getting OPT placements? If that's something that's very important to you, you want to make sure that the schools that you are applying to are able to help support you in that effort. So here at Penn State Dickinson Law, our career services advisors and staff are able to help find opportunities for you for OPT. Of course, when you apply, there's no guarantee that you will get the position, because it's similar to applying to any job. There's never any guarantee that you're definitely going to get a position, but they can help prepare you, review your resume, review your cover letters, help you prep for your interviews, and have a better shot of getting a position that will allow you to stay and work in the United States for up to 1 year. So a little bit more about the New York bar exam. Our curriculum does provide all the necessary courses for you to be able to sit for the New York bar. One thing I want to say about this, and it's very important no matter what school you end up going to for an LLM, it is very important that the moment you arrive on campus, and actually I would say before you arrive on campus, as you're getting enrolled in your courses for your first semester in your LLM, you need to tell the person coordinating the LLM program. So here at Penn State Dickinson Law, that would be me. You need to tell that person that you want to sit for the bar exam in whatever state it may be, because there are certain requirements you have to fulfill. There are certain courses you have to be enrolled in order to qualify. There's certain paperwork you must complete. There are certain prerequisites that you need to have fulfilled. And it's very important that you start preparing and having those completed within your first semester of an LLM, or else it may not be possible for you to qualify to take the bar exam. So if this is something you want to do, it's very important for you to be thinking about it now and communicating it with the school that you intend to enroll in your LLM program. Here at Penn State Dickinson Law, we do have academic counseling that is available for students who are interested. Typically, we would recommend that you enroll in some supplemental bar exam prep courses that typically can help you to get an overview of courses that you may not get exposure to within your 2 semesters of courses, in addition to other things as well. So I cannot stress this enough. It's so important for you to notify the staff of the school that you want to go to, that you intend to take the bar exam, and they will help you prepare for that. And make sure that they do provide the support for this as well, because not every school will provide academic counseling or provide, facilitate opportunities for you to qualify for the bar. So you want to make sure that that is definitely an opportunity before you go to a school, if that is something that you definitely want to do. So a little bit more about our location. I know I mentioned that we're close to some of the biggest cities in the United States, but one thing you want to think about as a prospective LLM student is what legal markets specifically are in the area where you end up going. How many courthouses are there? How many government capitals? All of these courthouses, capitals, legal markets are going to be the way that you get opportunities for internships. You get opportunities for OPT, as we talked about, optional practical training positions, right? So it's going to be easier for you to go for interviews, to go and network and try to expand the people that you know. All of that facilitation will help you to secure OPT and also help expand your professional network. So here at Penn State Dickinson Law, we have 8 courthouses that are within 1 hour of the law school. We are also close to 2 government capital cities in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania, which, as I mentioned, is a state capital, and then Washington, D.C. which is obviously, as you know, the capital of the United States. So both of those will open a lot of opportunities. So make sure the places you're applying, you want to know how many courthouses are in the area, what are the legal markets, and what are the opportunities for you there. You also want to look at the integration into the law school. So as an LLM student coming in, are you going to be able to actually integrate with the local students, or will you actually be kind of separated and taking only LLM specific courses and only engaging with the other LLM students? Because I would argue that it's extremely important for you to definitely get exposure to both. You have so much to learn from the other international students that will be LLM students with you, but also the point of you being in the United States is to get exposure to U.S. law and U.S. culture. The only way you're going to do that is by integrating in with those populations. And so here at Penn State Dickinson Law, you are completely integrated into the life of the law school community and taking your courses with the JD students. Another thing that you want to consider as you're looking at options is what are the networking opportunities? Sorry, my computer is being a little bit fickle here. So what are the alumni networks? How can they help you after you finish your LLM to get connected and to continue building your network? So Penn State actually has one of the largest alumni networks in the world with more than 700,000 alumni globally. We do have LLM alumni who are currently working all over the world. They came to Penn State Dickinson Law for their LLM, and they are now in all corners of the world working in different legal markets. We do have alumni from India, Thailand, Mexico, Korea, Germany, Brazil, just to name a few. If you're looking for potential alumni that you can connect with in your specific area, you can certainly contact me and I'll try my best to connect you with someone that's nearby. But this is something you want to think about. What is the alumni network, and how will the schools that you're applying to or that you think you want to go to, how will they help you after you graduate, right? How will they help you to continue to expand your career? You also want to think about the size of your cohort. So how many people do you want to be in your LLM cohort? Think of your cohort as kind of your family for the year. You go through orientation together, you get to know them, you typically are taking some of the same courses, and you're going through this journey in the United States together. So there are some LLM programs in the United States where you could be one of more than 200 students or over 100 students. And so you want to think about, do you want a large cohort or a small cohort? I think it has to be a personal opinion, and it should be whatever you are most comfortable with. So here at Penn State Dickinson Law, we have an intentionally small cohort model. So we accept no more than 20 students per year into our LLMs program. That ensures that you are immersed in the classes with JD students, and it ensures that you are completely immersed in our law school community. We actually don't accept more than 75 students into our JD program every year. If you remember, JD is the U.S. law degree. So these students are taking law courses for 3 years, and every year we accept no more than 75. So in any given academic year, we have 95 students, typically, no more than 95 students who are starting together every year. That ensures that you pretty much know everybody. Whether or not you have classes together, you know everybody, and it's definitely a very small, tight-knit community that we have here. So our faculty, that's another, I think, benefit of our faculty here. Something that you want to think about as you are looking at programs are the experiences of the faculty, right? So what is their experience teaching? What is their research experience? Where have they traveled? Where have they had experiences previously? A majority of our faculty here have experience teaching overseas. That means that they are automatically bringing into their classrooms a global perspective. Coming in as an international student in an LLM program, you are automatically going to get an international or a global experience. Having faculty who bring that into the classroom can further kind of solidify what you're going to learn in the classroom. Because they are bringing diverse perspectives to help you not only learn about things in the American way, but learn about things in a global way where you're learning about other cultures and other backgrounds as well. Many of our faculty have received Fulbright grants or other research grants and proposals, and like I mentioned, we do have a few of our staff members who do work as international prosecutors in The Hague and the Netherlands as well. So a lot of unique perspectives. If you are interested in a specific concentration area, I would certainly recommend getting in contact with faculty who specialize in that area at the law schools where you're applying. If you do want to apply to Penn State Dickinson Law, you could contact me, and I'd be happy to get you in contact with our faculty in the areas that you're interested. But for any school that you want to apply for, I would certainly say that it's important for you to connect with faculty in your concentration areas, because those will be the people that you're learning from when you're here for 2 semesters. You want to make sure that you are able to connect with them, that you really think they have something to teach you and bring to the table that will challenge you to grow and to learn. And then the last thing I think that is important thinking about your environment in a law school is, I don't know why this keeps skipping, let me go back, is looking at the staff. So it's not just about the faculty. The faculty obviously are the people who are teaching you in the classroom, but you will also want to look at the staff. What kinds of support services are going to be offered to you as an international student? So you don't just want to be recruited into a very large LLM program where there's no support in place to help you, right? You don't want to be one of just a number of students, right? You want people to know your name, know where you're coming from, know your background, and be very intentionally wanting to help you and support you through your journey in the United States. So here at Penn State Dickinson Law, we do have an international student orientation. This takes place just right before the normal orientation for the law school, so you are able to connect with the other international students in your cohort, and then also we go over things that maybe the domestic students don't need to know about, like how to open a bank account, how to get a cell phone, how to do a number of things that are applicable for you as an international student. So we give you those tools before the other orientation begins. We also do regional LLM trips. So with your cohort, we'll take you to Gettysburg, for example, the Civil War site that we talked about, the battlegrounds, Hershey Park, also some of those regional courthouses that I mentioned. And so you want to think about what are the support being offered by these programs you're applying for. And so you want to kind of weigh those two things. You want to look at, do they provide an orientation, trips, programming for me while I'm there as an enrolled student, or is it mostly just to focus on academics? Because I think that you certainly need a balance of both of those things. And then lastly, intentionally small community means a strong community. And so thinking about the size of the cohort, what is most comfortable for you? I think that Penn State Dickinson Law is a perfect fit for the right kind of student. Not every student would thrive here, just like not every student would thrive in downtown New York City in a very busy, bustling area. Every student is different. I think you need to think about what is your ideal environment. What is the best place for you to thrive? Is it a smaller area? Is it a bigger area? Do you require a lot of support services, or are you happy being independent? All of those things are going to play an important role in you deciding what kind of program you're looking for. So a little bit about our tuition and scholarships. $48,000 was our tuition for the 2017 to 2018 academic year. We do offer scholarships here of up to 50% off the tuition, and we automatically consider you for those scholarships if you apply. So within the funding, obviously this is the tuition cost. As you're looking at programs, you want to look at the tuition cost, of course, but also what is the average cost of living there. So most websites for schools, they'll give you some kind of a graph or some kind of information about what they suspect it will cost you for your housing, for your meals, for your visa cost, for your health insurance, for your travel costs. All of these things add up, right? And it can be kind of a scary number when you add those up and see how much an LLM could cost, including everything, including your flights, including all the pieces of this experience. And so on our website, you can actually go and see what we estimate your costs would be. And keep in mind that most schools will have a higher cost than you may actually use. It's an estimated cost of attendance, right? So some of you may be happy eating ramen for meals and having a very low budget for your food. Others may want to eat out and have a higher budget. So these estimates we give you for your living costs, they're an average. So it may be higher or lower than what you may actually spend. But it's important for you to look at that because it may look in some schools, it may seem like the tuition is a little bit less, but if the cost of living is much higher, it's actually going to cost you more in the long run. So you definitely want to look at your finances and look at all of those tuition, living expenses, and extra fees all rolled into one to see what the best fit for you financially may be. We do have many housing areas around where we are. Most of our students that don't have a car, they live within a 5 to 10 minute walking distance from the law school. There's a number of apartments, there's a number of houses that you can rent, and a good thing is we actually have a housing database on our website. There are a number of alumni of Penn State Dickinson Law who live in the area, and they are always wanting to rent out their rooms or their houses to current law students. And so because of all those connections, there's a plethora of options. Our students don't typically have a hard time finding housing as an LLM student. So that's a little bit about tuition scholarships. How to apply? So depending on the school, they may have an internal application or there may be an application only through LSAC. So here at Penn State Dickinson Law, we only accept applications through LSAC. LSAC is kind of the governing board of law school admissions in the United States. And so they have their own online system where you apply, you upload your resume, you upload cover letters, you upload your academic transcript into this system, and then you select what schools you want to apply to, and then they will disperse your information to all of those schools. So in a sense, it makes it a little bit easier because you don't have to individually apply to every law school. It does some of that work for you automatically. But it also, you want to make sure that you are tailoring your information to be specific to the schools that you're applying for. And so making sure that your cover letter is specific to the school you're applying for. The last thing that I want to see when I'm reading an application for someone applying to Penn State Dickinson Law is a cover letter that says, you know, I'm so excited about attending the University of Maryland LLM program because blah, 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 right? That's the last thing that you want someone to see because that definitely makes it seem like it was not a priority for them or they sent it to the wrong school, right? It comes off as unprofessional. So you want to make sure that you're tailoring your materials to the correct school. Make sure that you've done your research so you know, mention a specific faculty member, mention a concentration area that you know is a strong suit of that law school. Make sure that you're making the information applicable to where you're applying, right? So don't just change the name within your cover letter. It really should show that you've done your research. I love it when I see that students mention in their cover letters for Dickinson Law, oh, I'm really looking for a small community. I'm looking for the support. I'm looking for the student services, the programming for international students. When I can tell they've looked at the website or they've received information from me and they know that's what they want. That makes me more prone to think you will be successful here. And so make sure you're doing that for all the schools you're applying for, pulling out the things that are unique about them and why that is something that you are looking for that will help you thrive. As far as application materials for our program here, similar to most schools, we are looking for your resume or your CV, a personal statement, making sure that it's customized to the school you're applying for, your transcripts. One thing I want to tell you about transcripts, if you are applying through LSAC, your transcripts, if they're coming from an international institution, they actually have to be certified credentially through LSAC and what's called ACRO. And that process of by the time they receive your transcript internationally at LSAC to the time that it's actually certified and verified academically can take 4 to 6 weeks, 4 to 8 weeks actually, depending on the time of year. So it is very important that you are starting your academic process of applications as early as possible, because that transcript piece alone, that can take you a couple months to complete. So making sure that you are starting that early enough, you're submitting your transcripts. Even if you don't know where you want to apply, that's okay. You should still be submitting your transcripts now, because that process alone can take 2, potentially 3 months, depending on how long it takes for your transcripts to be sent from your home country to the United States and the LSAC headquarters. So keep that in mind. Typically for our students, they don't realize how long the transcript verification process can take, and so they'll apply and submit everything the day before one of our deadlines, and then obviously we can't review their application unless we have their transcript, their verified transcript. And so it's really important for you to submit your transcript, at least start that process, and then you can submit your other pieces later, like your personal statement or deciding what schools you want to apply for. So think about the transcripts, try to get those in as early as possible. And then lastly, the proof of English proficiency. If you're from a country where English is the one and only official language, then typically we do not require the TOEFL or the IELTS score. If you are from a country where English is one of several national languages in your country, it may be possible for you to get the requirement waived, and that's on a case-by-case basis. You would email me, and I could give you more information on that. So, for example, students who are in India, English is one of your national languages, and so it may be possible, especially if you received your previous college degree at an institution that was only taught in English, you could contact me and I could give you more information about how to look into waiving that. If we ever have doubts about your English proficiency without a TOEFL or IELTS score, typically we'll set up a Skype meeting just to talk with you and to verify the level of your English proficiency. And then letters of recommendation. For Dickinson Law, this is optional. For some law schools, this is required. So you'll want to make sure that you're looking closely at the requirements of each school that you're applying to see if this is something that's mandatory or something that is that's optional. Even though at Penn State Dickinson Law, a letter of recommendation is optional, I still would strongly recommend that you submit them. I would recommend having 2, if possible, having one that's academic. So this is coming from one of your law professors or someone who has seen you in an academic setting. And the second one I would recommend is a professional recommendation. So this is someone who maybe supervised you in your current role or in some kind of an internship where they've seen you actually acting in a law setting professionally. So having both of those insights from our end as we're reading applications is really helpful, because we want to see how you thrive both as a student but also as a law professional. Those are both really important pieces when we're making admission decisions. So what kinds of questions should you be asking as you're looking at schools, as you're trying to find the best fit for you? I've already gone over a few of these throughout my presentation, but I just want to reemphasize some things that I would recommend. The first is, what is the average size of the LLM cohort? You want to think about, do you want to be in a small cohort or a large cohort? As I mentioned, we have one of the smaller cohorts in the United States here at Penn State Dickinson Law with just 20 students each year. There are some programs where you could be one of 200, and so you want to think about what size you're looking for and find out what the average size of the programs that you're applying for are, so you know that in advance. How much interaction do LLM students have with JD students, faculty, and community at the institution? So thinking about your motivation for coming to the United States and getting an LLM degree. Why are you coming? What are you hoping to get out of it? Is it just from a legal perspective that you want the exposure of U.S. law? Are you looking to help improve your English ability? Are you looking to network professionally? Are you looking to take the bar exam and try to practice law in the United States? All of these intentions should give you different motivations in programs that you're looking for, different things you're looking for in programs. And so I would say if you're looking to really immerse yourself and learn about the culture and the law environment of the United States, I would say that you want to look for a program that has a lot of interaction with the JD students, with the faculty, with the community. So definitely keeping that in the back of your mind. How much interaction are you looking for the motivation of you coming to the United States? And like I said, for every person that will be a little bit different. What concentration areas are offered? So this is more so for the prospective students who know they want to focus on a specific area, making sure that your concentration area is offered within the programs that you're looking for. So making sure that they have exactly what you're looking for. What support is offered for LLM students in securing internships, externships, and or OPT or optional practical training work opportunities? So whether or not you want to take the bar exam and work in the United States long term, I would strongly encourage you to at least consider pursuing an OPT after you complete your LLM. This would mean being in the United States for potentially 2 years instead of just 1 year. But this would give you the chance to get some work experience in addition to the academic experience that you're already getting in the classroom as an LLM student. So what support is offered in that sense? Next, does the program offer summer programs for LLM students? So perhaps you're not interested in actually doing a 1-year, 2-semester LLM. Some of you may just be looking for a short-term program or maybe a summer course where you can just come to the United States for 1 month instead of 9 months. So you want to look at what schools offer. Maybe you're just looking for a course in legal writing in the United States. Legal writing maybe for an ESL learner if English is not your first language. So here at Penn State Dickinson Law, we actually do not currently offer summer programs or short-term programs. However, there are a number of schools that do offer programs like that. So one thing that you want to do is make sure that you're researching the opportunities for those short-term or focused programs if that's what you're looking for instead of the traditional 1-year LLM degree. Next, as I mentioned before, what support services are offered for international students at the institution? So you want to ask, is there an orientation? Are there advisors available when I'm a student to answer my questions or to help provide support? Here at Penn State Dickinson Law, I am the LLM coordinator, but I'm also the international programs coordinator. So I'm actually working as the point person for our international students as well. So they can be JD international students or LLM international students. So our students know if they have questions about anything, they come to me. And if I don't know the answer, then I will find the answer for them or I'll redirect them to the appropriate person. So I am kind of the primary support services for our students here, but you want to find out who does that at these other schools that you're looking at. What support do they offer? Do they offer trips for international students? Do they offer mentorship programs? Do they offer other opportunities to help get you connected with the JD students or the other American folks in the community and the surrounding area? And then lastly, what are the tuition and fees and what scholarships are available for LLM students? Every school is going to be different. Some schools offer very limited scholarships for LLM students. Some schools will just focus on scholarships for JD students instead of LLM students. Other schools may offer very high tuition scholarships for LLM. So you want to think about what is available for you. If you're coming from limited means in your home country and you know that you cannot pay full tuition on top of paying your housing and your meals and your additional expenses, then it should be vitally important for you to know what scholarships are available. You should know exactly what is offered and a possibility for you before you apply. And so thinking about that and then thinking about that in conjunction with the tuition and fees. So how much is tuition? And then as I talked about, how much is the average cost for housing, for meals, for travel, for health insurance, for additional expenses? Taking that all into account, what is the total cost of being a student at that school for 1 year? And I cannot stress this enough. It is so important for you to know financially what you're getting yourself into and what is feasible for you as an incoming student. One of the things that you'll have to do as an international student when you apply for your visa whether you are an F1 visa or a J1 visa holder as a student, when you go for your visa interview in your home countries or your home regions, they're going to ask for proof of financial means. This means you have to have bank statements, you have to have information that is verifying that you have enough money to pay for not only your tuition, but your health insurance and your housing and your meals. So it's really important for you to do your homework early enough that by the time you get your offer and you go for your visa interview, you know that it's not going to be a problem. You know that they should be able to look at your documents and say, okay, you're good. We can verify that you have enough funding for this. So making sure that financially that things are in order, I think is also really important for you. All right, so that is all I had for my presentation today. My name, as Vishnu introduced me at the beginning, is Sarah Guillen. I am the International Programs and LLM Coordinator here at Penn State Dickinson Law, and my email is right here on the slide. Please feel free to write that down and send me an email. I would be happy to give you any additional information. I'd also be happy to give you my opinion if you are struggling with information on you know, concentrations or maybe what the best fit for you is to do in the United States for your degree. I'm happy to help you with that as well. So please contact me, and thank you again for tuning in to this webinar this morning, and I think we have a little bit of time now for some questions. I'd be happy to answer some questions if you have any.
Thank you so much, Sarah, for this, for the presentation and for all the insights that you have given. There are a couple of questions. So there has been a question like it's by a person who is he has been part of the lease that has happened in Pune as well, and he had asked like, is there a cyber security option, or is there an option to learn anything about cyber security and you know, related modules? That's his question. His name is Milind.
Yeah, Milind, that's actually a great question. I was in a meeting actually just a few days ago with our faculty who emphasizes on intellectual property, and his research is looking at cyber law specifically. And so within this new concentration in intellectual property that I mentioned before is going to be new in 2018, there will be a possibility of having a specific focus within intellectual property on cybersecurity and cyber law with that specific faculty member. So it is definitely something that we are in the process of developing. I am very confident it will be available starting in fall 2018 and will be encompassed within the area of intellectual property.
I hope that answers your question, Milind. And then there is another question about the LSAC application. So the question is like, is it better to apply for LSAC, and if it is applied through LSAC, that is LSAC, does that reduce the cost?
It depends. It depends. I believe as an international student applying through LSAC, you have to pay the required LSAC fees. There's two required fees. One is, I believe, $85 US dollars, and that is the administrative cost for them to create your account and distribute your information to the schools where you apply. The second fee is specific only to international students. That is the certification fee for your transcripts. So as an international student, because I can't be an expert on every transcript coming from a school in India, and every transcript coming from a school in China, and every transcript coming from a school in Nigeria, I can't be an expert in all those transcripts. So LSAC does that for the law schools. That fee, I believe, is $130 or $135 total. For your LSAC required fees, it's $220 US dollars. That is something that is required through LSAC. Unfortunately, that's not anything that's run through Penn State Dickinson Law or any other law school. There is no way that we are able to waive that fee for students. Most schools will tell you the same thing. It's because it's not coming through us. It's coming through LSAC. So you pay that $220, and they will certify your documents, and they will send your documents to every school that you apply to. There are other schools where they have an internal application. Let's say they have an online application. You fill in your information, and they will ask you to get your documents certified through a third-party organization of your choosing. There's a lot of options, and they're all different costs, and then have them sent to the law school once they're certified. So if you did that, it may be a little bit cheaper, maybe 20 or 30 US dollars. However, it can take even longer, potentially. I've heard stories of students where it's taken 3 months, maybe, or more for their documents to be certified through some of these other companies. So in my opinion, the $220 is probably the easiest way for you to just get everything in and apply to multiple schools. Most international students are going to want to apply to 5 to 10 schools, right? You don't want to put in this money for an application and risk only applying to one school. I think it's important to apply to multiple places. So when you're doing that, if you think about this $220 fee, if that's paid for, if that's completed, then you are able to apply to all of these different schools. That certification process of your transcript, that's what takes the longest. And unfortunately, it does cost, like I said, between $130 and $140. But at the end of the day, once it's certified, and it's certified for all the schools you want to apply for. Almost every law school in the United States will allow you to apply through LSAC. They may also have an internal application, but almost all will offer it through LSAC. So it is the best, I'll say, one-stop shop, the best place where you can apply to everything in one place. Instead of having to do an independent application for this school here, this one here, it can be a little more confusing and complicated to do it on your own externally. So from an ease of accessibility, I think LSAC is probably the best way to go, in my personal opinion.
There's also one more question from Mike, and that is, if at all they do apply for the LSAC, does that mean that if they choose to apply through you instead of LSAC, then the fee would be a little bit lesser, like you can waive off the fee? Can they do that directly?
So unfortunately, we do not have our own internal application. We only accept applications through LSAC. So if you want to apply for our LLM, you have to create an account through LSAC. It depends. Every school is a little bit different. There are many schools similar to Penn State Dickinson Law where they only accept applications through LSAC. And there are other schools where you have the option of applying just through the school directly. So it really depends. I don't have numbers of what percentage of schools have their own versus LSAC application, but we actually only accept through LSAC. Within LSAC, once you have applied, you created your account, and you have also paid for the certification of your documents, there may be an additional application fee for certain schools. So they may say, in addition to the LSAC fees, you also have to pay $40 or 50 US dollars to apply. And that would be the school's fee for looking at the materials, reviewing the materials. At Penn State Dickinson Law, we actually do not charge any additional fee for our applicants. So as long as you pay the LSAC required fee, we don't charge anything additional. So you can just apply to Penn State Dickinson Law for no additional charge. But like I said, every school is a little bit different. And I understand the LSAC process is extremely confusing, especially as an international student when you're not very familiar with the law schools here to begin with. It can be very daunting to try and navigate how to find the best fit school and how to apply, because every school is customized in its own way, whether they have different ways to apply, different application requirements that you have to submit. It can be very daunting. So we have tried here at Penn State Dickinson Law to try and make it as easy as possible, which is having it all streamlined through LSAC and having similar application guidelines to majority of law schools as well.
Thank you, Sarah. And there's also a question, what about the LSAT, and does writing the LSAT help in any way with the LLM application process?
For an LLM, typically it doesn't make a difference because we know that you're doing a short-term program over law in the U.S., right? So taking the LSAT exam is typically only required for students who want to go into a JD program. So the JD program is a 3-year full law degree in the United States. So unless you know you want to get a full JD program or JD degree, it's not necessary for you to take the LSAT exam. If you know you definitely want to sit for the bar exam, you want to try and work long-term in the United States, then you may want to consider just applying to a JD to begin with, right? Because having 3 years of curriculum and academic experience to U.S. law versus 1 year, you have a much higher likelihood of passing the bar. And so keeping that in mind, it may be better for you to actually consider a JD, in which case a prerequisite for most JD programs in the United States is taking the LSAT and recording your LSAT score with your application.
I hope that answers your question. And one other question is there with regard to the visas. Is that something that you will be able to answer? It's relating to the difference between an F1 and J1 visa, and what is beneficial, and is there an option to choose a visa type like L1 or J1, and what should the choice be?
That's a good question. I am by no means an immigration advisor, so I won't answer this fully. What I will tell some of the differences between an F1 and a J1. A J1 is typically for a visiting scholar, a visiting, let's say, exchange student that's only in the United States for a short period of time, that's not seeking a specific degree. A J1 can also be for a student who is fully funded through a third-party organization, such as Fulbright, or such as being sponsored through their home government, right? So all of the funding for their tuition and fees is coming from an external source other than themselves. That can be a reason why a student would get a J1 visa versus an F1. Most students who are coming to the United States for an LLM degree, most are going to qualify automatically as an F1 student because they are funded by, personally. They're funding themselves, or they have, a tuition scholarship from the school. The majority of students will be an F1 student. You are not able to choose which status you fall into. The school you apply to will actually provide you the documentation that you need to go and apply for a U.S. visa and go for your immigration visa interview in your home country in order to receive your visa before you arrive in the United States. And so the school, when they go over your documents and they view your financial records, they will actually help you decipher which category you fall into and provide the necessary documents for you to be able to go and receive your visa in person before you arrive. So no, you can't choose, but typically it falls into what financial category, how are you paying for it, where are the funds coming from, and how long and what your intention is in being in the United States. So hopefully that
answers.
Like I said, I'm not an immigration advisor, so that would be, if you had a specific case where it was a little more complicated, you may want to reach out to someone who's specifically an immigration advisor, or contact the U.S. Embassy or the U.S. Consulate in your region to get more information about that. But the status of your visa doesn't really make a difference as far as your opportunities within the United States, right? So your work authorization may look a little bit differently, but you still have many of the same opportunities either way.
Thank you so much, Sarah. I hope that answers your question. So I think that's it with the question from the attendees. Would you like to add anything more?
I don't think so. I think I probably talked your ear off a little bit more than you were hoping, but hopefully you have some food for thought on things to consider as you're looking at programs. And really, I think people in positions like mine, where we're helping students to enroll in programs, I think what I want for all of you is to find the best fit. Every one of you is looking for different things. You need a customized experience, right? And so depending on what you're looking for, I think it's really important to ask yourself all those questions that I went over at the end. Being able to answer all those questions, being able to hone in on what are the most important things that you're looking for in a program, that should help you to decide where you're going to apply. And what is the best option for you and for your future. So hopefully what I provided was helpful in helping you think about those things. And like I said, please feel free to send me an email if you have any follow-up questions. And yeah, so I appreciate you all being here and taking the time to chat with us this morning. And thank you, Vishnu, also for organizing.
Not a problem. Thank you so much, Sarah, and thanks to all of you who have been able to join us today. And thanks a lot. So with that, we'll conclude the webinar. Thank you.
Take care.